Welcome back to J4's English. I'm Jennifer, and today you're going to learn the 10 most common C1 verbs in the English language. So if you want to sound advanced, if you want to reach that fluent level in English, you absolutely need to know these verbs. And at the end, I'm going to quiz you to make sure you really understand these verbs. Let's get started. The verbs you're going to learn and the example sentences to explain the verbs are at the C1 level. What does that mean? The C1 level is considered an advanced level of English proficiency. If you want to be at the C1 level, then you need to use a wide range of vocabulary and complex language structures. And that's exactly what you'll do in this lesson. So let's get started with our 10 C1 verbs. To advocate. Advocate. This means that you support, recommend, or speak in favor of something. For sentence structure, you advocate for something. You need that preposition for, and then you have your something, a noun, or a gerund verb because you have the preposition for. As an example, environmentalists advocate for stricter regulations to protect endangered species. If the environmentalists advocate for these stricter regulations, it means they want them, they recommend them, they support them, and they speak in favor of them. And notice that preposition for. Environmentalists advocate for stricter regulations. To elaborate. Elaborate. This is when you add more detail or information to a statement or explanation. For sentence structure, you elaborate on something, and that something is your idea, your statement, your explanation. So notice that preposition here we need on. Advocate for, elaborate on. For example, the professor asks Mark to elaborate on his research findings during the presentation. So Mark is presenting, he's sharing information about his research findings. But the professor said, "Can you elaborate on this?" So Mark needs to provide more information, more details. And by doing so, he's elaborating on his research findings. To implement. Implement. This is when you put something into effect or action, or you apply or carry out a plan or decision. For example, the company plans to implement a new marketing strategy to increase sales. So they're going to implement this marketing strategy. They're going to put it into effect. Once it's in effect, it means it is active, it is doing what you wanted it to do. And notice here, you implement something. So we don't need an additional preposition between our verb and our noun or clause. Implement the marketing plan. Implement the strategy. Implement the recommendations. To emerge. Emerge. This is when something comes into existence or becomes visible or apparent. For example, as the sun set, the city's skyline emerged in all its splendor. The city skyline emerged. It became visible or apparent. Apparent is another way of saying visible. If something is apparent, it means you can see it. A problem can also emerge, which means that problem is visible or apparent. To constitute. Constitute. This means to be part of a whole or to form or make up something. For example, these 5 sections constitute the annual report. So these 5 sections make up the annual report. They form the annual report. They're a part of the annual report. So the sections are the individual parts and the whole is the annual report. And these 5 sections constitute, make up, or form the annual report. To commence, commence. This simply means to begin or start something. Remember that all of these verbs are advanced C1 verbs. They are more advanced ways of saying simple things like start, commence. But also remember that to be considered fluent and advanced in English, you need to know these alternative ways and advanced grammatical structures. So commence is the advanced way of saying to start or begin. For example, the conference will commence with a keynote speech by a renowned expert in the field. Of course, you can simply say start, but to sound more advanced, you can say commence. To encompass, encompass. This means to include or contain, or to cover or surround entirely. For example, the project scope encompasses a wide range of topics related to sustainable development. If it encompasses a wide range of topics related to sustainable development, it means that it includes or contains these topics. And the project scope, the scope of a project is what a project will include or cover. So if it is within the scope, the project will do it. If an item is outside of the scope, well then the project will not do it. You might need to commence, start a new project that encompasses that other item, that contains that other item. To complement, complement. This means to enhance or complete something by adding an additional item that harmonizes with it. In plain English, it means that you add something that goes well with it, that matches it. For example, the red shoes complemented her black dress perfectly. She has her black dress. Well, what color harmonizes with black? What color goes well with black? Red. Red and black complement each other. So she chose red shoes to complement her black dress. To convey, convey. This means to communicate or express a message or information. For example, the artist used muted colors to convey a sense of tranquility in the painting. The artist used these colors to convey a certain emotion, to communicate that emotion, to express that emotion. Muted colors are very soft colors. Tranquility, that is a feeling of calm. So when you look at this painting, the feeling is conveyed. The feeling is communicated or expressed. To assemble, assemble. This means to gather or to put together parts to create a whole. For example, tomorrow let's assemble in the conference room to discuss the proposal. In this sense, it means to gather. So when individuals assemble, first they're individuals, but then the whole is the team. So you have the individual members, but then when they assemble, they combine to form the team. And it can also mean to gather. When people gather, they are individuals and they come together as a whole. Tomorrow, let's assemble in the conference room to discuss the proposal. So now you have the 10 most common C1 verbs in the English language to help you get to that advanced level in English. But how well do you really know these verbs? Well, let's find out with a quiz. Here are the questions. Hit pause, take as much time as you need, and when you're ready to see the answers, hit play. So how did you do with that quiz? Let's find out. Here are the answers. Hit pause, take as much time as you need to review these answers, and when you're done, hit play. So, did you pass the quiz? What's your score? Share your score in the comments below. And don't worry if you got a low score, because that just means you need to practice, practice, practice. So watch this video as many times as you need until you get 10 out of 10. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. Click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And why don't you keep improving your English with this lesson right now?